Use of force in prison needs to be reasonable, appropriate, and deemed necessary. Raymond Cook, prison officer, just received a 12-month prison sentence. John Ahmed was a prisoner at Strangeways who died in 2015. Know both them people very well. John Ahmed, come across him many times. He knew me. I had a good working knowledge of John Ahmed. Raymond Cook, never personally worked with him, like on a wing or an individual area, but again, knew who he was. So he's received a 12-month prison sentence. John Ahmed sadly died 2015 after being restrained in the segregation unit at Strangeways. What I'm going to explain to you is the paperwork and how the coroner's court operates. The paperwork first. Pinned comment, and in the description we'll put the article from the Manchester Evening News. It talks about an Annex A. If you use force on anyone, you will fill an Annex A in. If there's 5 of us in a restraint, we all fill that paperwork in. One of us, it doesn't have to be a senior officer or a manager, it can be a prison officer, assumes the supervisor's role. If I'm supervising the incident, I would fill that paperwork in. It would then be my job to collect the other 4 Annex A's plus mine and hand them in, and also collect the rest of the paperwork together, which would be a 213 that's filled in by the medical staff. There'd be an incident report, and there would be a security information report, the Annex A. Yeah, it should give knowledge of said prisoner. If I knew John Ahmed, it'd say how I knew him and my relationship. What I am going to do is create a picture so that if in 10 years time you end up in court, you can read your Annex A in order to relate to said incident. It shall give time, date, place, a background, information leading up to the use of force. My paperwork was always spot on, absolutely spot on. Plenty of detail, my role. I was the head officer, I had the right arm, I placed it in this lock, etc, etc. Always bang on. I have read paperwork that is shite, and you can tell it's shite. The other thing is, it should be my account of the incident. Quite often everyone would sit down together. I've had paperwork I've filled in handed back to me by a senior officer, which is uniformed officer, manager, principal officer in uniform, next level up, or governor, and told to rewrite it. Not because it wasn't accurate or detailed, but because my account didn't necessarily fit in with everyone else's, and I've refused. See, my account's my account, how I see the incident, how it started, and everything else, and I've refused. And the governor said to me, so in 10 years time, if you're in court and you're giving your Annex A to read, you're happy to recount that? I am, and I was. That's how it is. Coroner's court is a scary place. I've been twice, 2 coroner's courts. One in Bolton, one in Manchester. Both very different experiences. For me, a coroner should be there to ascertain cause of death and not lay blame at anyone's feet. Quite definitely, the coroner's court in Manchester I attended, that coroner was looking to blame the prison system. Someone takes a drug overdose in prison, looking to blame the prison. Someone takes their own life by hanging, looking to blame the prison. Prison's not a nice place. People do take their own life. We never ever talk about the people we saved. It's never mentioned. You know, I've been involved in saving people's lives at Strangeways, and they've later taken their own life at Grizzly Risley, HMP Risley. A couple of times that. Some people want out. You know, they can't deal with the crime they've committed, or they just can't deal with prison. Maybe they've got no purpose in life, no family, nothing to carry on living for. So the coroner's court, the last one I was in, for me, I was the most important witness. That's not look at me. I found the guy. I found a guy. I knew him. He'd been with us on the healthcare for 3 months. I knew him inside out, his behaviours and everything else. Me, 2-week trial, probably one of the last witnesses. There was a family member of that person who died in custody, who I found, who had to sit for 2 weeks just wanting to know why their brother, their loved one, had died, and about his behaviours, and no one could explain because nobody knew him. First witness on the stand should have been me. Again, it's not about me. You know, get a background, what this guy was like, you know, potentially why he took his own life. Now that lad, I came in at 6:30 in the morning and he was dead. He was stood by the window, or so I thought. He was either stood by the window or sat on his bed every morning. I spoke to him. Yeah. Cell were dark, winter time. There was a lot of piping outside the cell, so there wasn't a lot of light. I would find him round about 8:15, dead. So I was questioned 15 times what he was doing when I looked in the cell at 6:30 in the morning. Same answer 15 times. I was questioned for about 4 or 5 hours about this. Again, that's not me. There was people who were on the stand 2 days. There were people who had to go in front of the coroner. One lass, absolutely terrified, as all staff were, prison staff and the nursing staff, because the nursing staff bear the brunt of it. Why didn't you do this report, she was asked. Because I was on holiday. Okay, you're dismissed. 2 weeks waiting to understand for that one poxy question that made no difference. So yeah, same question over and over and over again. They're after you. They're looking for nursing staff who maybe haven't had the question. Somebody dies in prison tragically. 2 years previously, when they come into the prison, a nurse didn't ask them a specific question or forgot to sign a document. That nurse is in trouble then. Again, the coroner should be looking to ascertain the cause of death, not apportion blame. I felt quite definitely that coroner in Manchester, that's what he was after. Lay a charge of corporate manslaughter against the prison. He said as much. He would be the first coroner to lay a charge against the prison of corporate manslaughter. Very difficult being a prison officer. The paperwork, people don't listen. I work with plenty of people. I've seen their paperwork themselves. I'm involved in an incident. I've supervised it. They've given me their paperwork. I've looked at it. What the is that? You need to put more in it. Couldn't be arsed. Can't be bothered. Fuck it. Mine, always bang on. That's not me being clever. That's how it should be. Death in custody, John Ahmed, 2/15, 2024. An officer is going to prison. You've got to have the courage of your convictions. If you use force, you know, you've got to have a reason for that. It's got to be necessary and appropriate. That paperwork's got to be accurate. This officer, you know, flip-flopping like a spawning salmon. A couple of Annex A's, 2 different variations of the same incident. I've seen a member of the nursing staff who quite definitely didn't do a job. It was nothing that would have affected a death in custody, but he got lied. He got, you know, did you do this? No, that's all he had to say. He was supposed to have. He said, yeah, I witnessed him on the stand. An hour. Flip-flopping. You've got to have the courage of your convictions, but coroner's court are no nice place to be as a prison officer. As a nurse, even worse. The nursing staff, used to be terrified of going in front of the coroner. I've seen nurses under the threat of being stripped of their job because they hadn't dotted an I or crossed a T. We never ever talk about the people that are saved in prison by officers, maybe go on to live fruitful lives. It's not a nice place to be, prison. It's boring, dark. Coroner's court. It's terrifying. Just gonna leave it there, guys. If you are a prison officer, and there's a lot to watch this channel, make your paperwork the best it can be. Set the scene, put your detail in, put your time and effort in, and have the courage of your convictions. Thanks for your continued support. Thanks for coming. I'll see you.
In the shadows they reside, secrets etched in stone, echoes of forgotten cries. Behind these walls alone, behind the walls where darkness thrives, whispers linger, secrets hide, invisible chains